I thought I was just building a lifeguard tower to keep our kids safe. I never expected the HOA president to block it with a concrete planter, then sit on it and dare the cops to arrest her. But that's exactly what happened, and it changed everything. Don't forget to like this video if you've ever dealt with HOA drama, subscribe for more jaw-dropping real-life stories, and stick around to the end. The final twist will leave you speechless. Everyone in Lakeview Estates agreed on one thing: the community beach was its crown jewel. A small stretch of lakefront framed by pines and sunsets, it was the heart of summer weekends. Families picnicked there, kids shrieked in the water, and even the most reserved neighbors found themselves exchanging smiles. For Alex, a civil engineer who'd bought his house 3 years earlier, it was the reason he'd paid extra for his lot. But there was one persistent blight on the neighborhood: Karen Winters, the HOA president. Officially, she'd campaigned on preserving property values. Unofficially, she ruled the community like a petty monarch. Her trademark move was appearing out of nowhere with her clipboard and issuing citations for anything from music volume to unauthorized umbrella colors. Alex had managed to avoid her notice by keeping a low profile. That changed last Memorial Day. 2 children nearly drowned during the busy weekend. Chaos erupted until a neighbor, a retired lifeguard, dragged them from the water. They survived, barely, but the scare shook the entire community. At the emergency HOA meeting that followed, even Karen appeared rattled. For once, everyone agreed, they needed safety measures. The board voted unanimously to install a lifeguard tower and hire trained staff for the summer. Alex volunteered to oversee the project. With his construction background and county contacts, he secured permits quickly. The plan was simple: a modest elevated platform to give lifeguards clear sight lines. Everything was to be completed before the annual 4th of July celebration. On the Sunday before construction, Alex marked off the site with stakes and caution tape. But when he returned Monday morning with the crew, he was met with an infuriating sight. In the middle of the cleared space sat a massive concrete planter, an ugly gray monolith that hadn't been there 12 hours earlier. And standing beside it, arms crossed and smirking, was Karen Winters. "Good morning," she called, voice dripping with false sweetness. "I'm afraid there's been a change of plans. The board has reconsidered the lifeguard tower."
Alex blinked.
"What are you talking about?" "The board voted unanimously.
Y a permis.
The crew is here." Karen tilted her head like she was addressing a child. "As president, I have final say over aesthetics. That tower would be an eyesore and hurt property values. This planter is a much better addition, don't you think?" He stared at the monstrosity. It looked like it had been ripped from a cemetery. Where did this even come from? "My cousin owns Green Valley Landscaping," Karen said, gesturing at a nearby truck. He understood the situation. Alex took a slow breath. "Karen, this isn't about landscaping. 2 kids nearly died. This tower is about safety." "They shouldn't have been swimming unsupervised," she replied, waving her hand. "We'll use the funds for security cameras instead. Much more practical." The construction foreman approached, unsure whether to proceed. Alex turned back to Karen. "You can't override a board vote. The permits are active. Legally, this tower has to go up." Karen's smile hardened. "I've already contacted the county to revoke those permits. And if you touch that planter or start building, I'll press trespassing charges." She tapped her beloved HOA binder. Section 12, Paragraph 4, "I can block unapproved modifications to community property." Alex felt anger rising but kept his voice steady.
"You're wrong, and you're overstepping."
Her eyes narrowed. "Funny, you weren't so concerned about the rules when your deck extension went 3 inches over regulation. Be a shame if we had to make you tear it down." There it was, the threat.
Classique Karen.
Alex didn't respond right away. He stared at Karen, the concrete planter, and the idle construction crew behind him. Her threat about the deck wasn't subtle, and clearly premeditated. She'd come prepared, using HOA regulations like weapons, a petty tyrant masking control as concern. But this wasn't about a few inches of wood. This was about lives. He tried again, calmer. "Karen, this isn't about you. It's about protecting children. The county approved everything based on real safety needs. You can't derail it for the sake of your personal tastes." Her expression didn't soften. The decision's been made.
The plan testait.
The tower doesn't.
End of discussion.
She turned and walked off, clipboard in hand, satisfied like she'd just closed a nuisance case. Alex stood frozen for a beat before apologizing to the foreman and sending the crew home, promising to reschedule. But deep down, he knew he couldn't let it end like this. He made 2 calls. First, to the HOA vice president, to explain exactly what had happened. Then to his contact in the county permit office. Both conversations were illuminating and infuriating. Yes, Karen had called the county. No, she had no authority to revoke anything. And more importantly, what she had done, placing an obstruction in a permitted construction zone, wasn't just an HOA dispute. It was a county-level violation. Public safety permits, especially ones tied to water safety, carried legal protections. The next morning, Alex returned to the beach. But this time, he wasn't alone. With him stood 2 board members, his contact from the county, and a uniformed police officer. Karen had been notified to meet them. She arrived 10 minutes late, looking composed in her trademark pastel suit. At first, she smiled. Quite the delegation, she said, with her usual smug calm. But as I explained yesterday, the board reconsidered. The Lifeguard tower is cancelled. The vice president of the board stepped forward. That's not true. There was no vote. You acted unilaterally, and that's a violation of procedure.
Karen's face flushed.
As president, I have authority in matters of aesthetics. You should review the bylaws. Before the vice president could reply, the county official raised a hand. Ms. Winters, this isn't an aesthetic issue. You interfered with an approved safety installation. That planter needs to be removed immediately. Construction must resume.
Karen blinked.
Illegal? That's ridiculous. This is private community property. Still subject to county safety regulations, the official replied. Especially after near-drowning incidents. You're in violation of county ordinance. She turned toward the police officer. Officer, they're trespassing. I'm asking you to remove them. The officer looked visibly uncomfortable. Ma'am, they're operating within their rights. You're the one who placed an obstruction in a county-approved project zone. I need you to arrange removal of that planter now. Karen's lips tightened. Her face, already flushed, began turning purple. You're siding with them over the elected HOA president? Ma'am, the officer said, voice firm now, you have 2 options. Remove the planter voluntarily, or be cited for obstruction of a public safety installation. For a moment, everyone thought she might back down. Then Karen pulled out her phone. I'm documenting this abuse of power, she barked, lifting it high. This is harassment. That tower is not going up today, or ever. Then, in a stunning act of escalation, she stepped in front of the planter and spread her arms wide like a shield. You'll have to remove me first.
The officer sighed.
Please, don't make this harder than it has to be. I'm being reasonable, she shrieked. I'm protecting the community. Karen's voice echoed across the lakefront, her shrill proclamation drawing more than just puzzled glances. A small crowd of residents had gathered near the sand path, murmuring among themselves as the drama unfolded. Children stood wide-eyed behind their parents, clutching beach towels and inflatable rings, while phones discreetly began recording. The officer tried once more. Ms. Winters, you're actively interfering with a public safety installation. This is no longer an HOA issue. If you continue to resist, I'll have no choice but to place you under arrest. Karen sat down on the planter with theatrical flair, folding her arms tightly. Then arrest me. Do it. I'm protecting our values, our homes, from that monstrosity you call a tower. She clearly believed she was invincible, that her title as HOA president made her untouchable. But no one moved to support her. No one stepped forward to echo her outrage. The board members said nothing. The county official simply crossed his arms. Even her cousin's landscaping truck quietly started up in the distance. The officer gave her a final warning.
Ma'am, last chance.
Step aside, or I'll be forced to detain you. Karen scoffed.
This is tyranny.
I'll sue every single one of you. Then came the moment that would be retold at every block party for years. The officer calmly approached, informed her she was under arrest, and gently took her by the arm. Karen's face registered pure disbelief as he helped her up. "This is a mistake. I'm the president of this association," she protested, but the handcuffs clicked into place. Gasps rippled through the crowd as Karen was led away, still shouting about bylaws and betrayal. Someone clapped. Someone else muttered, "Finally." Once she was gone, the planter was removed within the hour. Her cousin's company, now fully aware of the legal implications, didn't resist. Construction of the Lifeguard Tower resumed by afternoon. Alex stayed through the entire process, overseeing each detail. When the platform's frame rose above the sand later that day, it wasn't just a safety structure, it was a symbol. A stand against ego, obstruction, and control disguised as leadership. The tower was completed just in time for the 4th of July. Painted in soft, natural tones, it blended seamlessly into the landscape, not an eyesore at all. On opening day, a certified lifeguard took position on the platform while kids ran into the water under watchful eyes. Neighbors stopped to thank Alex. A few shook his hand. One older resident, who'd lived there for decades, patted him on the back and said, "You did good, son. We needed this, and someone to finally stand up to her." Karen, meanwhile, was nowhere to be seen. Her arrest had stunned the community and changed everything. Karen Winters was released later that evening, but her reputation didn't recover. The video of her arrest spread through the neighborhood faster than any HOA newsletter ever had. It landed in group chats, Facebook pages, and even made a brief appearance on a local news segment. Her dramatic sit-in, followed by handcuffs and public shouting, became the new legend of Lakeview Estates.
But beyond the gossip came real conséquences.
Within days, she was formally charged with obstruction of a public safety installation and resisting a law enforcement officer. Her attempts to paint herself as a misunderstood protector of property values fell flat in court. The prosecutor presented clear documentation of the approved permits, the board's original vote, and the audio recording from the county meeting. Karen, dressed in her usual pastel blazer, tried to maintain her composure during the hearing. But as the judge reviewed her actions aloud, her face twisted with disbelief. "You acted without board approval," the judge said. "You interfered with a permitted public safety installation after 2 near-drowning incidents. This is not merely a civil matter, it's a breach of public trust." Karen's attorney argued that she'd only been trying to protect the neighborhood's appearance, but the judge was unmoved. The sentence, a $5,000 fine, 100 hours of community service, and 1 year of probation. She was also formally suspended from her HOA duties pending a full board vote.
The moment the gavel came down, Karen let out a gasp of outrage.
$5,000, she shrieked. "For doing my job?" Her voice echoed in the courtroom, but no one reacted. The judge warned her once more, any further outbursts would lead to contempt charges. Outside the courthouse, reporters tried to get a statement, but Karen rushed past them, face red and jaw clenched. Her attempt at martyrdom had collapsed under legal weight. Back in Lakeview Estates, something shifted. At the next HOA meeting, attendance tripled. Residents who had previously stayed quiet now spoke up. One after another, they recounted stories of petty violations, unfair warnings, and feeling watched in their own homes. The air was charged with frustration and relief. The board held a vote that evening. Karen was officially removed as president. In her place, a quieter, more cooperative member was elected, someone who promised transparency, collaboration, and most importantly, common sense. Alex didn't run for any position. He preferred to stay in the background, just as he always had. But now, neighbors greeted him at the mailbox. Kids waved when he walked by. He became known, not just as the guy who built the Lifeguard Tower, but the one who stood up when no one else would. The tower became a summer staple. Parents felt safer. Kids swam under professional watch. And not a single drowning or close call occurred that season. But Karen wasn't done yet, not entirely. Karen Winters disappeared from public view for several weeks after the court ruling. Her pastel suits and clipboard no longer roamed the neighborhood. Her once daily emails about lawn heights and garbage can placements stopped arriving. It was almost peaceful. But peace didn't last. One morning in August, Alex received an envelope on his doorstep with no return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper, a formal complaint filed by Karen against him, accusing him of personal harassment, unauthorized engineering activity, and defamation of HOA leadership. It was signed not by a lawyer, but by Karen herself. It might have been laughable if not for the timing. The tower was up, fully functional, and respected by residents. But Karen wasn't trying to win. She was trying to wound, to claw back any control she could, even if it meant dragging Alex through pointless red tape. He took the letter straight to the new HOA president, who sighed, read it, and said simply, "We'll take care of it." The board voted unanimously to dismiss Karen's complaint as baseless. But they took one step further. They passed a new amendment to the HOA charter. No president could act on significant infrastructure or enforcement decisions without a documented board vote and approval from an independent legal advisor. Karen's era of unilateral rule was over. That fall, she quietly sold her home and moved out of Lakeview Estates.
No farewell party.
No notices. Just a for sale sign that vanished as quickly as it appeared. Her house was bought by a young couple with a toddler and a golden retriever. On their first weekend in the neighborhood, they attended the beach barbecue hosted next to the Lifeguard tower. The atmosphere was relaxed.
The sun set behind the new platform, where à Lifeguard s'atteignent vigilant.
Alex stood near the grill, flipping burgers, talking with neighbors. It was nothing special, just a gathering. But in the small smiles, the easy laughter, and the lack of fear, he felt something powerful. Karen had ruled through control. But change had come through calm defiance, through proof, patience, and refusing to back down. One neighbor approached Alex with a paper plate in hand and said, "Hey, just so you know, my sister's HOA saw that video of Karen. She's become a warning now. They literally use it in their board training."
Alex logued.
Not exactly the legacy she had in mind, huh? Nope. But you? You left something that'll actually help people. The two looked toward the tower, now part of the beach like it had always belonged. That summer faded into fall, then winter, but the tower stood tall through it all, a quiet reminder that sometimes the real strength in a community isn't who holds the title, but who stands up when it matters most. What would you have done if your HOA president tried this? Let us know in the comments below. And don't miss our next video, more true stories of neighborhood drama, justice, and unforgettable confrontations.